So, why is Gen Z, Generation Z, backing Donald Trump? Just so we understand the age ranges for all these generations and terms, I'm just going to give you a quick lecture on that part and then we'll go to the main topic. Well, I am part of what is called as the baby boomer generation, and that ends around 1964. 1964. From 1965 to let's say about 80s, early 80s, they call themselves Gen Xers, Generation Xers. Then Gen Y starts, and that starts from 81 up to 1996. Then the Gen Z starts, 1997 onwards up to, like, say 2025. Right now, it is still called as Gen Z. So, this youngest group, why are they so fond of Donald Trump? Well, we are going to go into the reasons for this, and please like this video, and if you have not already subscribed to our channel, do subscribe to our channel and also click on the bell button for notifications and choose all. So that's all I ask of you, and here we go. So why is Gen Z backing Trump? What exactly does he have that really attracts them? Well, here is one thing that I heard from people in this generation. They're saying that it is a lot more harder to date these days. Looks like the bar is much higher for the boys than for the girls. I don't have any idea why, but usually if I try to probe a little further, then they'll say, "You uncle, you don't understand anything," or something to that effect. They don't tell it to me on my face, but you say, it's a thing, you'll have to be my age to understand this stuff, that kind of stuff. Anyway, so the data shows that Trump has today a 52.7% approval rating among the 18 to 29-year-olds, that is the Gen Z, and that has been a sharp rise since January 2024 when Trump came to power. Why? Trump won the youth vote in 2025, defeating Kamala Harris by a fairly significant margin, with young white and non-white men voting for him. A historic divide emerged in 2024, with young men heavily favoring Trump while women leaned left. Gen Z has transitioned from being the most progressive since the baby boomers to potentially the most conservative in 50 to 60 years. Why? What happened? That's what we're going to examine here. The collapse of the ascendant majority theory has shaken the Democrats, who long assumed that Gen Z would secure their electoral victories. A party realignment is genuinely underway right now, with generational conservative shift among the Gen Z that could shape American politics for a long time. This isn't just a US trend, it is mirroring rightward shifts in many of the Western countries. I mean, you can read what is written on the t-shirt. I'm not going to read it. You understand what it means. But basically, there is a feeling that Trump is macho. That's one way to put it. Now, the other problem is the Gen Z men appear to be drifting apart. Recent studies and polls indicate a growing number of Gen Z men aligning with right-leaning ideologies, especially in Western democracies. A significant driver of this shift is the backlash against woke or progressive movement, with many Gen Z men perceiving them as overreaching or divisive. Because you see, where the woke appeared okay in the beginning, but then once the thing started gaining momentum, it started going to some extremes that probably made a lot of people uncomfortable. Right-leaning influencers like Andrew Tate, Jordan Peterson, and others have gained traction among young men, promoting traditional masculinity and conservative values. See, this is the other thing. Men have to show that they are regular, right? I mean, that's a whole challenge in itself. There is also disillusionment with left politics. Some Gen Z men feel alienated by the progressive left, citing identity politics, cancel culture, and economic policy failures as concerns. Now, platforms such as YouTube, X, TikTok contribute to political polarization by reinforcing ideological bubbles. This is something that I've been saying for a long time, right? I mean, we tend to get put into silos, and inside that silo, your opinions might gain traction. It becomes an echo chamber. There's more and more and more and more. But outside that, you're nobody. Nobody even understands you. So something needs to happen so that people get to understand the other viewpoint also before coming to a conclusion. And I think we are kind of getting there now, with X being much more open about what it allows. Economic factors such as job insecurity, inflation, and housing affordability have led some Gen Z men to support right leaning economic policies. I mean, you understand one thing, right? Gen Z perhaps has a much higher student loan on their shoulders than Gen Y or Gen X. And I think the baby boomers lucked out. Their parents probably had enough means to send them to school without them having to take any loan. But as we see progressively, this has become harder and harder for America. And when they come out, they have a ton of debt. Right leaning narratives often address a perceived crisis of masculinity, resonating with young men seeking purpose, identity, and direction. And this is not all. There is a climate that has formed in universities that is perhaps being seen as being dominated by leftist ideologies. Remember, guys, there was a survey done, and I think about 91% of all faculties across all the universities of United States were left or left leaning or liberal. So left leaning, liberal, these identities tend to blur, and you basically are left with people thinking that there is equity missing in this world, that sort of stuff. So when they see that, many men appear to get turned off, because what they see and hear in the campuses and then what they see when they come out and start working are 180 degrees apart in many cases. And that's when they say, wait a minute, what is this? So some of the people who have their elder brothers who have graduated and gone on to work, when they come home and when they are talking, what the student is having a certain ideological bent, and the person who's working, who had just graduated, is exactly opposite. And then he says, look, this is all BS. You better start understanding this is not how the world works. So this reality, coming to reality, appears to have gotten more traction among Gen Z men than Gen Z women. And I'm curious as to when Gen Z women study comes, and I'll be happy to report on that one also. Right now, it appears that the Gen Z women are liberal and left leaning rather than there are always going to be exceptions, of course, but this is a general, like a majority, just as the majority of men appear to be conservative or right leaning. Now, the traditional news is being replaced by alternative digital media, which often carries right leaning or contrarian viewpoint. I mean, there are so many things, right? Discord, Reddit, uh, 4chan, Telegram, and WhatsApp. And I mean, this is just something that just came to my mind. Instagram, and these are all the ones that the young youth watch, read and follow and absorb. And also, they also do watch some stuff from YouTube, but not as much as perhaps all the other channels. And now there is this new thing called Twitch. Twitch is from Amazon. It's not new, but I should say the Rumble is new. Relatively new, which Rumble is being promoted very hard by the Trump administration. You saw the founder being felicitated in the White House. So there is all these new pulls and pushes coming. We do put some of our content on Rumble. I haven't had much traction yet, but it depends. As the viewership moves there, maybe I'll see more people coming there. But the perception that male voices are being marginalized in social and political discourse has fueled resentment and a rightward drift. So there is also now a gender divide in politics. While Gen Z women tend to lean more liberal, a gender gap is emerging, with Gen Z men showing more conservative or libertarian tendencies. Online communities, like I said, gaming forums, Reddit threads, often become hotbeds for political discussion, where right-leaning ideas are shared and normalized. Anti-elitist and nationalist sentiments promoted by right-wing populist movements are increasingly resonating with Gen Z males. Some Gen Z men are reacting against their progressive-leaning parents, embracing contrarian or conservative views. This is the first. When parents tend to be more liberal, and the children come and say, no, that's not how it is. I think this is what it is. Now, All this has some impact because of what they are doing on social media. The algorithmic push that social media has is subtly shaping young minds. Like I told you, right? You get into this silo, and everything in that is shared based on what the algorithm thinks you will like. But then if you establish yourself as a certain bent of mind, everything that comes to you will be around the same thing. What about the contrarian view? Where do you get that? None of the social media platforms ask this question. Have you also looked at this? Why don't they do that? Why don't you try to give a more balanced perspective? I'm just asking all the platforms, including X. So at least in X, and I think more so in many browsers now, you have an AI assistant who can give you some sort of a reality check. Maybe that's what is the contrarian view, and that's what actually works as contrarian view. But I just you get the point, right? Maybe what we all should do is, whenever you read a certain thing and that looked a real controversial or something like that, you should go and click on the grok, in case you are following it on X or on any other thing, and then type in this heading and see what the world is saying about it. Because it's important to stay grounded and make sure that you form your own thought process of coming up with organized thought, that this is how I'm going to look at something, because that will help you make an informed decision in whatever decision you take in your life. Now, Gen Z men are more likely to express concerns about censorship and support free speech absolutism, often aligning with conservative stances. If the trend continues, it could reshape political outcomes, influence party strategies, and shift public discourse for years to come. So, what is happening next? Republicans may solidify their support among young voters as Trump's team is expected to intensify its outreach to the youth demographic. The conservative shift among Gen Z could either represent a permanent generational realignment or serve as an opportunity for a political course correction. Democrats do face an identity crisis. As a matter of fact, something interesting happened today or yesterday. 𝗏𝗂𝗏, Fremont's congressman, he went to a very red, meaning very Republican area called Bakersfield town, and then he had a fairly big town hall meeting there. And he actually invited the sitting Republican congressman who did not go for that. So he ended up being there all by himself. But he said that a lot of people had turned up to listen to him. So that's a good, fresh change, fresh departure from, instead of trying to talk to your faith base or your constituency, somebody is trying to seek out common ground by going to a more Republican constituency and seeking what they want to know and what are their questions and concerns. I think that's a good effort on part of 𝗏𝗏𝗏. So this is what is needed. What I think America needs are the moderate Democrats and the moderate Republicans. They need to come back and they need to take control of their respective parties so that a decision can be made in which much of America can get behind. I think that is what is my hope and wish. And let's hope that this Gen Z, where there is appearing to be a lot of polarization, will come to a stop very soon, and that we'll have a more inclusive society. At the end of the day, that's what you need. You don't want a more divisive society, you want a more inclusive society. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to click on the bell button for notifications. Namaskar.